When you know that you are queer, but your favorite drink is beer, that's gayish. You can bottom without stopping, but you can't stand going shopping, that's gayish. Oh, gayish, you're probably gayish. Well, life's just too short for narrow stereotypes, so it's gayish. We're also gayish. It's Gayish with Mike and Kyle.
Hello, everyone in the podcast universe. This is Gayish,
the podcast that prefers MLK's other saying, shyness is the language of the undressed.
Wait, did he actually say that?
No, Mike. Violence is the language of the oppressed. OG quote, but I made noises that sounded like other noises.
I'm just so impressed. It's like you made a cocktail of like all of fat, of Black Lives Matter, of like inspirational quote. You added it's a pun. It's like you're like
you didn't laugh because you were too impressed with me.
It was just too many things to process at the same time. I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Kitts,
and we're here to bridge the gap between sexuality and actuality. And today,
I don't know if I'm proud of myself or upset that you're so surprised that I might be a little bit intelligent, so I might be offended.
No, that's not surprising at all. I just didn't expect you to bring it here.
Sure. Okay. This isn't the place for that. Penis, poop. Okay. Yeah. Today we're going to talk about, what are we talking about? Father's Day?
Father's Day. Today we're going to talk about Father's Day.
With some guests.
With some guests. Yes. Joseph Peters-Mathews and Brandon Peters-Mathews, who were on our episode about surrogacy.
Yeah. So they talked to us pre-baby.
Yeah, now they have a baby.
Yeah. Have you met their baby?
Not in person. No, just virtually, which is good enough for me.
Yeah, I mean, I met the baby and Joseph Peters-Mathews gave him to me. And I was like, I think what babies like is what I like, which is just like making noise and bouncing up and down. Like,
someone much larger than you holding you.
Oh my God, we're all that baby. Okay.
Yeah.
But first.
Okay, great. Let's see. First on the list.
I'm sorry. Did you mean the? Yes.
I didn't know that you could. Yeah. Are you okay?
Wait. But my other thing, as I can go super deep. News.
Wow.
I've got Mariah Carey's range, people. And you need to know it. Okay, news.
Okay, news. First, off the bat, Nickelodeon has let us know that SpongeBob SquarePants is gay.
I only saw this a little bit and didn't do any more investigating, but...
Yeah. Okay. So that's the headline, right? And that's the thing that people have been running with. I also think it's bullshit, and I'm upset about it. And we need to talk about that. So on yesterday, on the 13th, they said, quote, in a tweet, quote, celebrating hashtag Pride with the LGBTQ plus community and their allies this month and every month. Rainbow emoji. And then it's a picture of SpongeBob SquarePants and Korra from Avatar and Schwartz from Henry Danger. And they're all standing in front of rainbow/colory backgrounds. Here's the thing. It might be implied and even heavily implied that SpongeBob is gay, but nowhere is the phrase SpongeBob is gay in any of that. And their
people
captions,
interpreted that post like that's where we got that he's gay.
Yep.
Even though they mentioned, I mean, he could be bi, queer, trans, or an ally. Those were all the other things they mentioned in that.
This isn't the first time that it's come up, his sexuality. In the early 2000s, Steven Hillenburg, who is the series creator, said that SpongeBob SquarePants is asexual. And
okay, yeah, someone was like, sponges are asexual, everybody.
Yeah. I just, like... I don't know what frustrates me so much. First of all, it's that, like, Nickelodeon, if that was their message, they should have fucking said it. If it wasn't, everybody shouldn't have been like, oh, SpongeBob is gay, and run with that, because that's not what they said.
Yeah.
But then I'm also torn because, like, it's awesome. We need more representation, and people are now talking about this, and people are probably going to make sure that their kids can't watch it anymore because it's the devil's show now. I don't know.
No, I think this is one of those things, a lot like what I'm learning about racism and discussing racism is, like, it's good to take a step to say something. I'd rather people put something out there than not. At the same time, what I'd prefer, the next step they could take is, and they've already done this, like, if SpongeBob is gay, then have him overtly gay on the show. And I don't mean Million Moms. I don't mean he has to be doing stuff in the butt stuff or putting stuff in his sponge holes.
Does he have a butt?
He wears pants, so he has to, right?
I don't know.
I think the reason you wear pants is to cover your butt.
Well, all right.
But yeah, we need overt representation in shows, not backdated or retconning or implied representation.
Yep. I totally agree.
Cool.
Next?
Yeah.
Okie doke. Next. Yep. So this actually came from our Discord server.
Ooh.
Or Facebook. I don't know. It's all one thing now. The internet. This came from our
you.
internet. Yeah. But this story about Russian artist Yulia Tsvetkova's prosecution in Russia. So she's currently on trial, and she is facing up to 6 years in prison if she's found guilty, which apparently more than 99% of people who face court in Russia are found guilty. Like, if it comes to trial, it's not actually a trial. You go into jail.
Guilty of what?
Well, so she is an artist and has been doing sort of subversive art for a while. She channeled her, so quote, this is from the calvertjournal.com, quote, she channeled her creativity into building a community for young people where they could learn about gender, feminism, and LGBTQ community. She became the director at a youth theater, ran online groups on feminism and sex education for young people, including a performance of the Vagina Monologues. But then in 2019, police started investigating her play, The Blue and the Pink, which explored gender stereotypes. She was arrested on the 20th of November last year and put on house arrest 2 days later, charged with, quote, production and dissemination of pornographic materials.
And she was nugget.
Yep. She was accused of spreading, quote, homosexual propaganda to minors and was later fined. A couple of the things that are on here. She has these drawings of women, and they are, well, okay, like here, I won't show it to you. I'll send it to you later. But like this, like a line drawing of a woman, and her beaver is way out, and it says and there's another one, and it's a woman like holding the end of a tampon, and there's one with a woman that is curvy, like sitting on the beach, but the captions are things like real women have body fat and it's normal, or real women have wrinkles and gray hair and it's normal. All of them end with "I это нормально," and it's normal. And so I mean, she's definitely like pushing the envelope, but what's different here is that it wasn't just the anti-LGBT law where spreading positive images about gay people is prohibited under law. This was under the pornography law, and there's nothing pornographic about them. There's no sex happening. It's just women being women and talking about ways in which they don't necessarily fit perfect womanhood, and saying that that's okay or that's normal.
It's like women's bodies are sexualized, so people view them as inherently pornographic.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. Russia's
Guilty.
Up to it again. Huh?
Guilty.
Send her to jail.
She
must be stopped. I'm also interested in, maybe Murat can tell me or not, but her name is Yulia Tsvetkova, and I wonder if that's a pseudonym because Tsvet is Russian for color. And like the fact that she's like, her play is The Blue and the Pink, and she's so interested in gender stereotypes. I wonder if that's a pseudonym or if that's her actual name. I don't know if it's a common name or not.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear the answer to that either, Mike.
Yep, I know you can't. But you're gonna
Russian
have to.
puns. Those are my jam.
Yeah. Okie doke. Next.
Yeah.
Okay. Last but not least, I wanted to talk about the Chaz.
Yeah, my new favorite topic.
The Chaz is the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, which is a space of several blocks in the Capitol Hill neighborhood of Seattle that has been declared free of police, and is basically just a big old hippie festival now. Yeah. But what makes it gayish, what's appropriate for the news is, I think, two things. The first is that it is the gayborhood. Like, this is decidedly, solidly in the gay part of town, and I think that that's important and is not so far been something that I've seen reported much. And the other is that Fox News is fucking lying their goddamn asses off about what's happening there. Yeah. And I want people to know that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's not you editorializing. They literally were caught photoshopping images of a person with a gun into photos of the Chaz. So it's indisputable that they were directly lying about it. And yeah, I'm several blocks away from the Chaz. And yeah, it may, I think so that's where a lot of the Capitol Hill protests for Black Lives Matter were taking place, where a lot of the incidents of police violence were taking place over the past several weeks. And eventually the police left the area. And of course, when they left and abandoned their precinct, it became totally peaceful and happy. And everyone's like, so it's no coincidence. And it does have this kind of festival vibe, like you said. And the organizers are trying to remind people that the point is to demand action on, listed demands like defunding the police.
Yeah. Yeah. So as an eyewitness account, as a person that's been there, what did you see?
Yeah, it's hard not to talk about that without directly trying to counter some of the lies that I've seen. So I will. Like, people say that you have to check your ID when you walk in. That is not the case. I have never seen anyone with guns. There is a legitimate picture of someone with a gun standing at the entrance. Also, keep in mind that it was just days before that someone drove their car into this area and shot someone, like a counter protester. So. It's always interesting when people complain about someone having a gun, because then you're like, wait, gun fanatics, which side are you on? Do you think guns are good and can be used for defense, or do you think they're bad? I can't tell. Is it when it's for Black Lives Matter? Anyway, but yeah, so there's no extortion of businesses. That's been another report. So, inside, it's a lot of people hang out on the park. There are documentaries that they play every now and then that people all gather around and watch. The first one they did was 13th. It's people demonstrating, chanting, protesting. It's also a space for people to play basketball. And, some people give out free food and water. And so it's a really supportive, open, loving environment.
Yep. And not a sharper in sight, right? Like, they totally left the area.
Not a what?
A sharper.
What's that?
The Polaroid word of the week.
Oh my God. I didn't. How did I not figure that out?
Sharper or sharp has two meanings. The one is as a noun, which just means a policeman or a police officer. The other one is to steal. Like, to sharp something is to steal something. So there's sort of a weird, I don't know. It's weird that one word in this weird language would have almost exactly opposite meanings. But yeah, sharper means police officer.
Police and to steal. Maybe that's saying that it's the same word. Maybe they're synonyms.
Ooh, all cops are bastards.
Police have stolen our Black lives. Nah, that doesn't have a good ring to it.
I mean, they literally have.
That's true. No, I have not seen a sharper there.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad. I mean, I'm sure that we're going to change everybody's mind, but
well, it's just interesting because my mom called and had heard from her conservative friend and was like, is it like a war zone in there, or is it like, can you leave your place and it's like, it's literally fine. Like you would not know that it's what's going on unless you walked specifically to those blocks. And even then you'd be like, why are there so many people here today?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I've also seen some of my asshole conservative friends from Eastern Washington say that they should throw a protest so that they can go to restaurants again. Like we'll just call it a protest and then everybody can do what they want. Anyway. So that's it.
Racism and going to restaurants are equally important issues.
Yep.
Okay.
Indeed. Especially if you don't think racism is real. Anyway, that's the news. Except I would like to continue on with the June series of queer Black people from history.
Yeah.
And tell you a little bit about Lucy Hicks Anderson. Do you know this person?
I have never heard of them.
Okay. Lucy Hicks Anderson was born in 1886. And
that's 100 years before me.
Yep, exactly.
Wow.
And so from 1920 until 1945, she lived in Oxnard, California. And it was she was outed as being biologically male. Now, some of the language here is problematic because the term transgender did not exist at that time, and the sensibilities about these things were definitely very, very different at that time. So you can say that it's historically inaccurate if you want to, but she was trans. She was a trans woman. She was born in Waddy, Kentucky in 1886. And when she entered school, she insisted on wearing dresses and began calling herself Lucy. Her dead name was Tobias Lawson, which you see in some of the articles related to her because the controversy about like whether a trans identity is real in a historical context, it's fucking bullshit. Her name was Lucy. Her mom took her to a physician, and the doctor advised her mother to let Lucy be raised as a girl.
Oh wow!
Lucy, yep. And so that would have been in 1901.
Damn.
Lucy left school at the age of 15 to work as a domestic. When she was in her 20s, she moved west, settling in Pecos, Texas, where she worked in a hotel for a decade. In 1920, she married Clarence Hicks in Silver City, New Mexico, and then moved to California. They got divorced in 1929. In 1944, she married Reuben Anderson, a soldier stationed at Mitchell Field on Long Island, New York. So what happened was it was discovered that she was biologically male, or somebody outed her. The Ventura County District Attorney decided to try her for perjury. According to the DA, she had committed perjury when she signed the application for a marriage license because on that form, she swore that there were, quote, no legal objections to the marriage.
Oh.
It went to trial. They pulled in physicians declaring that, insisting that she was male. She challenged the authority of physicians who insisted that she was male. Quote, I defy any doctor in the world to prove that I am not a woman, she told reporters in the midst of her perjury trial. She was convicted, and the judge placed her on probation for 10 years rather than send her to prison. So she had received checks as the wife of a member of the U.S. Army, and the federal government prosecuted both her and her husband for fraud in 1946. Both that time were found guilty, sentenced to prison. After she was released from prison, she tried to return to Oxnard, but the local police chief told her to leave town or risk prosecution. She lived the remainder of her life in Los Angeles and died in 1954 at the age of 68.
Wow. That's amazing. I know, I feel like you run into this thing where like my instinct is to say like, wow, she's so brave. But then everyone's like, she wasn't trying to be brave. Like it's not brave to just be yourself. But so I get that. But I can't imagine being in her shoes, having to deal with what she's dealing, 100 years before I'm even realizing or thinking about any of these issues. So
yeah, I think too that I can't speak for the trans community, obviously not being trans, and the stories that I hear involve a lot of sort of awakening or confusion or dysphoria and trying to figure out what that's about, and then having the realization later. And that's a truth for a lot of people. But for this person, she was just like from a very young age, fuck this, I'm a girl. fucking deal with it. And she couldn't not do that, and was very crystal clear about her identity and her gender. And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, and a good example that needs to be highlighted on influential podcasts like this one.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Mike.
So that's it. That's the news.
I want to thank, I forgot to do this last episode. Sorry, buddies. I want to thank Patreon members. Everyone buckle up. Rudy Gardia. That's probably it. Gardia.
Two L's?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Zach with a C and no K. Just Zach.
Just a Zach. Okay.
Simply Cinderfella, which I don't think is their real name.
Yeah.
Simply, that's a weird first name. Christoph. Oh, Christoph. This is your fault. Christoph.
Like from Frozen?
I've never seen Frozen.
Oh, okay.
Is there a Christoph in it? Olaf. Are you thinking Olaf?
I don't know. I thought there was a Christoph too.
Oh, maybe. Olaf's brother, Christoph. Christoph Vermeulen Erke. And this is fun. This is my first intentional pseudonym. Someone saying, don't use my name, but use this. Adam Kane.
Kane.
And he said people will get it if they're in, and I don't. So some people are just in on something. So thank you to our Patreon members. If you want bonus content episodes, other shit, go to Gayish. Nope. Go to patreon.com/Gayish podcast.
Yeah. Awesome. Also, we didn't say it on the show last time, so people might not know. There was more content from the Black Lives Matter march that was cut out of the white privilege episode for time, and that became our Patreon segment for that episode. But we've made it free, so anybody that wants more of that content should be able to go to patreon.com/Gayish podcast and listen to that for free if they want to.
Yeah. Rationale that we had behind that is it is our firsthand account of attending the protests, and given how skewed media coverage has been, we thought putting out actual firsthand accounts of the protests is useful.
Yep. Awesome.
Do you want to talk about Fathers and Father's Day?
Let's talk about Fathers and Father's Day.
Father's Day is coming up, isn't it? When is it? I should know this.
Yeah, that's why we had to do it this time. That's why this has been on the calendar for so long, because this is the episode before Father's Day, which this year is, it's always, what is it, the third Sunday in June? So the 21st. Yeah. Yeah, 21st. It's the 21st.
Okay. So when you're hearing this, you have a few days to figure shit out.
It's not too late. At the very least, call.
Yeah.
So I thought we would talk a little bit about Father's Day and what Father's Day is and where it came from.
Cool.
How long do you think it's been around?
50 years.
No. So
2.
I don't know. Yeah. Higher. So in Catholic countries of Europe, it has been celebrated on March 19th as St. Joseph's Day since the Middle Ages. So
Joseph.
Yep.
St. Joseph Peters-Mathews Day?
Yep. St. Joseph Peters-Mathews Day.
Oh.
But the modern incarnation of it, it was celebrated on the third Sunday of June for the first time in 1910.
Okay.
So a little over 100 years.
I was in the right century.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
You're good. I think you did good. I mean, the answer was going to be either fucking real ass old or not that long ago, right? This one was kind of in the middle.
Yeah. So I blame Father's Day.
Yep. But one thing I wanted to talk about is the first gay Father's Day. Now that's a problematic distinction, because there were certainly people who were gay that fathered children before, right? And it also wasn't entirely. Anyway, here's where I'm going with this. What year would you think the first gay man adopted a child legally in the United States?
Next year.
It hasn't happened yet. We've come.
Like 2000 ish?
Yeah, that seems like a reasonable guess given everything.
That seems like a nice way to say that's wrong.
Does it change your answer to know that he was single?
Yeah, 1990s.
Also a good guess. So,
thank you.
And wrong. So, Bill Jones, a gay man, became the first single father to adopt a child in California, and one of the first nationally in 1968.
Shit, that's before Stonewall.
Yep.
Wait, and that was like he did it legally?
Yep, he did it legally. So the state of California had started to open up the idea that they should allow single people to adopt children because they had a huge backlog of children that needed families, and they were having a hard time getting married people to sign up for that. So they started opening it up for single parents, and this guy really thought that he would make a good parent and was interested, and just happened to be gay. And what I think is super interesting in this too, there's a really great do you know StoryCorps?
No.
StoryCorps is a series on NPR where they just sit down and they talk one-on-one with not one-on-one, sorry. They have somebody tell their story in their voice. You can tell it's structured, but it's just a person giving their thing. And so Bill Jones, there's a StoryCorps episode about him and his experience. In it, he says that he always wanted to be a father and decided to apply. Quote, they were looking for somebody with family in the area, and I had family in the area. They were looking for somebody that had some contact with children. I had been a school teacher for 6 years. And this fascinates me. Bless her heart. He says, quote, a wonderful social worker set me up with an interview. And it's important that this story sort of tells you contextually how the law was thinking about things at the time. Mm-hmm. Quote, she looked up at the ceiling and she said, you know, I think homosexuals would make very good parents. But if I was told that, the committee would be obligated not to make the placement. So I hope that if a homosexual ever wants to adopt, they don't tell me.
Yeah.
And so without directly addressing him, that's the staring at the ceiling part.
Yeah.
She let it be known that we can't let gay people adopt. So I better not find out. And then, of course, he didn't volunteer that information. And then the adoption went through. And
those some of those things, I think that when you look back in history, it'd be easy to condemn that, to say, wow, you know, they forced him to hide his identity. But it reminds me of, like, at the time, Don't Ask, Don't Tell or DOMA, like those were very progressive for the time. And it feels like that same thing of like, hey, we're on your side and you can get what you want if you don't say it. Like, you know, I get that that's not totally there, that we're not there yet, but I don't know. Those are those complex things from history that are not as easy as it's just good or bad.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And like this, I think women like this social worker are super important, right? People that are following the letter of the law, but know damn well that it's horse shit and work to actively subvert it in a way that's also plausibly deniable. I think that's fucking brilliant.
I mean, as I'm thinking about particularly white privilege, like that's almost she's using her knowledge, her privilege of being in that space to be able to tell him what to do to get the child he wants, like kind of using her power for good. I like that.
Yep. Well, he adopted a little boy named Aaron, and things were pretty messed up from the beginning. Quote, he was darling, but he had been turned down by about 5 couples. His mother was a heroin addict. When she gave birth to him, he went through withdrawal himself. And by about 2 years old, he knew no words at all. Oh. At first, he turned him down, but then changed his mind. Quote, you know, children know when they've been rejected. So I found myself down at FAO Schwartz. I'd bought a teddy bear. I went back to the adoption agency and I said, I want to give a present to that kid. Aaron heard my voice and came running across the room and threw his arms around my legs, and I just cried. Mm-hmm. The adoption was finalized on February 13th, 1969. So they celebrated the anniversary on Valentine's Day every year. things would become more difficult. His son, Aaron, was schizophrenic. Every day was a struggle with him, Jones said, except that he was a loving, sweet person. And he passed away at the age of 30 of a heroin overdose. And Jones still struggles with the loss.
Yeah.
But when his friend asked if he had any regrets about the adoption, Jones said he did not. Quote, "I still cry over the ending, but I would do it again. I loved him so much, and he loved me too. And so I was lucky in so many ways."
That's, wow, such a both sweet and heartbreaking story.
Yeah, it had to end in a tragedy, I guess, just because otherwise it wouldn't be gayish.
Gayish. It had to end in a tragedy.
I'll also add that there are other landmarks. A gay couple in California in 1979 became the first in the country to jointly adopt a child legally. So gay couples legally adopting, where both parents adopt a child. I'm older than that. And in 1997, New Jersey became the first state to allow same-sex couples to adopt jointly. And not until 2010 did the last state, Florida, overturn a ban on adoption by gay men and lesbians.
So now it's legal across the U.S.?
Well, several other states continued to ban unmarried couples, though, effectively stopping same-sex couples from adopting until marriage equality became federal law in 2015.
Oh. And this is something I have to imagine, regardless of what the law says, that there are people still pushing back on that idea. It's been decided, but they don't want it to have been decided.
That's right. Like Tennessee, right? That was in the news just yesterday, I think.
Oh, yeah. I totally saw that and paid attention and know what you're talking about.
I didn't write that down. Yeah. Just this year, the governor of Tennessee signed an anti-gay adoption bill.
Oh,
they're attempting to dismantle it as much as they can. And a lot of those fights are certainly going to end up back in the Supreme Court. Yeah. Anyway,
this is, I thought you were going to talk about, and so maybe I will, is it Father's Apostrophe Day or is it Father Apostrophe S Day? Is it all of our Father's Day or is it a Father's Day? I know for Mother's Day, they intentionally did it Mother Apostrophe S because the point was that it is for an individual mother. It is each individual mother's Mother's Day, which is interesting with a gay couple to think about. But it's two of them in this case. So
it is apostrophe S. It is in part because it was based on Mother's Day, which came first. And it's also interesting. I ended up talking about the gay dad more than I did about the history of Father's Day. It was basically invented by people who sell tobacco and ties.
Are you serious?
Mother's Day already existed. There were a couple of attempts to get it started that always fizzled out. It wasn't until the 1920s that it really sort of gained more momentum, at least in the United States. Up here in the Pacific Northwest, actually, it got really big in Vancouver, Washington, and then in Spokane, Washington.
Like all popular crazes, it started in Vancouver, Washington.
That's right. So let's see. Yeah, it sort of fizzled out in the 1910 teens when they first started trying to get it rolling. But then in the 20s and 30s, that's when it really got going. And the founder's name is Dodd. What was her first name?
Of Father's Day?
Yeah. There was this one woman was basically the champion of it that got it done.
Huh.
Why can't I find this? Sorry.
I mean, Dodd is a pretty solid name by itself. I like that.
Yeah. Anyway, she basically the Wikipedia article says that she'd been trying to get it started. It was difficult, but in the 1930s, she returned to Spokane, started promoting the celebration again, raised awareness at the national level. She had the help of those trade groups that would benefit most from the holiday. For example, tie manufacturers, tobacco pipe manufacturers, and any traditional presents for fathers. And so that really, that money and help and influence is what really propelled it.
Why am I continually surprised at how capitalism influences every single thing? Like, I don't know how I keep getting, taken aback by this, but
Yep. Yeah, anyway, apparently Woodrow Wilson in 1916 went to Spokane to speak at a Father's Day celebration when the first sort of push to try to make it a holiday happened. Anyway, spelling. This is neat. Dodd used the father's apostrophe day spelling on her original petition for the holiday, but the spelling father apostrophe S day was already used in 1913 when a bill was introduced to Congress as the first attempt to establish the holiday, and it was still spelled the same way when its creator was commended in 2008 by Congress. So, ta-da. She wanted it to be father's apostrophe, but they did it the other way. Yeehaw.
Well, I'll be sure when I say it to Joseph and Brandon to do it with apostrophe after the S.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So speaking of those guys, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to have Joseph Peters-Mathews, Brandon Peters-Mathews, and maybe their baby.
Yeah.
Are you ready for that?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, great. So should we take a break?
Let's take a break.
Let's take a break.
This is the part where Mike and Kyle take a break.
So are we back?
We're back.
We're back.
We are here with the Peters-Mathews. How's it going?
Good. Excellent. It's a pretty day in Seattle, so can't complain.
Finally.
Do I hear your child making some noises just when we started?
You do. And he has 3 teeth right now, 2 bottom teeth, a top tooth, and a 4th tooth that'll also be on top.
God, he's ready to be in Tiger King then.
It's just about to break through, and his mouth is getting used to having teeth in it. So if you've had braces, you remember after they come off, you keep running your tongue over your teeth because it's not there anymore. He's flapping his jaws and like bringing what used to just be gum now together as teeth and putting his tongue around too. So it's amusing to watch. But yes, he's cooing and resisting a nap. But
And how old is he? What's his whole deal?
He will be 8 months in 3 days.
Like, I know COVID put us all in a time warp, but that seems crazy. Like, it does not seem that long ago that you were on the show and expecting, and like, he's very old. That's weird.
yeah.
Yeah, he's crawling. He can stand, pull himself up to standing, and doesn't have words yet. Those will come later, but he's eating solid foods.
Okay, so we talked with y'all about preparing, planning in the middle of the surrogacy process. I'm curious to like kind of take us into actually getting to the point where you now have your child. What was the remainder of that surrogacy process like?
I mean, I think when we talked to y'all, we were like a week or 2 from due.
Yeah, you were like super about to have a baby.
Yeah, and we super had a baby. But it was not at all what we planned. Well, there was a baby, so we planned that part. I think 2 or 3 people can get through Do Not Disturb on my phone. It's my mom, my husband, and our surrogate. Mm-hmm. And the phone rang. We'd been in bed for like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. And the phone rang, and I shot up, and her water had just broken. So like,
when you saw her name, you knew, right? Like, didn't you know?
I had a feeling, yeah, but she was going to be giving birth via a C-section. 2 days later, we were going to drive down the next day after work. We were going to have dinner with Brandon's family. We were going to rest in a hotel room. We were going to check in with her for the scheduled C-section. And that did not happen. So then we threw stuff in bags and like called my mom and his parents and his brother and drove.
Hit the road.
Yeah, hit the road.
Where was your surrogate?
Southern Oregon.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So yeah, it was like
Near Salem, yeah.
4.5 hour drive, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah. There were obviously no traffic in the middle of the night. We buzzed through the cities, but middle of the night. And we got there at around 7, and he was in our hands within 25 minutes.
What?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And you drove over 4 hours home with a baby? Like,
The next day, yeah.
The next day.
shit, that seems like a trying first day.
He did really well. He slept most of that trip. We stopped and changed him, I think.
And fed him once.
Yeah, once.
And then as we were getting back, he was hungry again. And it was a gross rainy day in October in Seattle. And people driving black Jeeps really had no idea how lanes work. And he was really unhappy for the last 15 minutes of the drive. But otherwise did great.
So was it a C-section or was it a vaginal birth?
No, it was a C-section.
Okay, just moved up.
Yep. And the OB held off on the C-section itself as long as she could. So the timing of us being there and having him in our arms within 20 minutes was, I mean, we were texting with our surrogate the whole time about when we'd left, where we were, once we really established highway speed, what our ETA was. So, yeah.
Something I really respect about what y'all talked about and did throughout the process, and it seems like it was no different on the day of the birth, was like strong communication with your surrogate in the way that she wanted and thought was appropriate.
Yep.
And also fit for you.
Yeah, and that's a good thing, I think, from our matching agency, that in the intended parent to surrogate matching process, they ask about how much you're going to want to communicate. And we did not need daily text updates during the pregnancy.
Yeah,
he's the size of a pea. He's the size of a slightly larger pea. He's the size of 2 peas. Like,
yeah, and she's been great after delivery as well. Like, we exchanged photos and text messages. We had a phone call with her yesterday because she'd sent a present for Father's Day for us, a book that she had made. So it's been a good relationship even after. So I don't think that always happens, but for us, that's been a positive thing.
Well, speaking of, happy early Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I don't know if you could tell based on my pronunciation, I said it Father's Apostrophe Day.
Father's Day?
because there are 2 of you, and so it is not one Father's Day, it is multiple Father's Day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, tell me about the gay dad part. Do you has there been anything that's happened to you that only happened because you are gay dads?
And the only thing that sort of comes to my mind, Brandon might have some other thoughts, but because I got 6 weeks of paternity leave, and then I was back at work for about 6 weeks.
God was okay without you for a little bit?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Then the Rona hit, so I've been back home for another 13 weeks. Multiple times, if I've had to run an errand or been somewhere retail, at the checkout, people will say, "Oh, you're babysitting."
Yeah.
"Where's your wife today?" It's like, my husband is at work at a hospital.
It's like double whammy of like, he's not only a boy, but he's also working in the health field where shit's crazy.
So just realizing how low the bar is for men because of the patriarchy of like, if a dude has a baby in public, it must be because his wife is not available.
Yep.
That's a really terrible assumption for people to make. And
and we're in Seattle, where I just assumed people would be suits down.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's never been accusatory about it. It's just like, oh, his wife must be busy. Like,
well, that shows how deeply run the assumptions are. If they're not trying to do it in a mean way. Brandon, what about you?
I was thinking about our parenting group that we joined, which we had semi-weekly meetings, and the holidays and things were in the mix there, so there were some breaks. But we were the only gay dads in that group, and there were, I think, 9 sets of parents.
I think that's right.
Yeah. And so the first meeting was like, what makes you unique as a couple? We went around the room. Joseph was not mincing words in his response to that. But that was an interesting experience just because there are certain things built into that parenting group where they assume there's a woman and a man. So at one point, the meeting was meant to be split where half the group would go out.
Oh, no. Sorry, go ahead. Please continue.
Yeah, the women, the mothers would go off to a restaurant, and then the husbands' fathers would stay with babies and have a meeting. And then the next week it would switch. So the leader of the parenting group reached out to us and wanted to know how we plan to handle that. So,
and how she could help accommodate. I mean, she really was proactive about that. But
we ended up being where we just split, regardless of gender. We just split the group in half.
Okay,
then,
this might be the only time where it's fair to say which one of you is the woman and which one of you is the man.
And we ended up actually skipping both of those meetings. So
okay.
I think Joseph was out of town for a conference, and then the next weekend I just said I wasn't going. So yeah.
Well, one of them was Asian Art Museum.
Oh yeah, we had a museum thing. So yeah, that was.
It
that
wasn't
was
intentionally skipping in protest.
No,
it just happened. Okay.
Yeah.
We had made arrangements, and then we ended up not going to the meetings.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And something that was a little different, that's partly our work too, was because the moms many of them got so much more maternity leave, or were using maternity leave and vacation. We were weeks ahead of class for lots of discussion topics. It's like childcare, and it's like, Topher's been in daycare for a month already. What do you mean y'all are just starting to think about that? We knew what our drop dead dates were for when Brandon had to go back to work. So we started looking at nanny exchanges stuff before Topher was born. So that was
nanny exchange. Is that like wife swap?
Not exchange, it's nanny share, where two or more families will partner together so that a nanny works full time, but not full time with just one family.
Gotcha.
So how old was he when he went to daycare for the first time?
He was about 3 months when he first went to daycare.
Okay.
He came to work with me for 6 weeks. So I had 6 weeks of paternity leave, and then he came and was a blob in my office for 6 weeks. And then he started going to daycare.
For maybe 6 weeks?
Yeah, for like 6 weeks.
And then coronavirus happened, and now he's been home again since. He's going back next week.
That seems like I don't even want to go to the grocery store next week. Is that how are you managing that? Is it just out of necessity, or being brave, or like, fuck it, you're down for whatever?
I think part of it's necessity. He's getting to a point with being able to pull himself up and like walk the length of our couch back and forth, or walk laps in his crib, or pack and play, holding onto the edges, that I can't keep doing a half-time job and full-time parenting.
That's how I feel about Dan.
So I need him to go back so that I can. Snohomish County is in phase 2 of Washington's reopening, so I can go sit in my office for 2 full days a week, and then the other 3 days a week just focus on him and not poorly split the time.
I hope everyone thinks about issues of gender and trans and the binary nature of all of babies and everything. Given you're in the LGBT community, I would think that you'd be a little bit more attuned to that. So I'm curious if gender and binaries has come up in your thinking about your child.
I think mostly only with the baby registry and registering for oranges and greens and yellows and not pink or blue. And not a lot of stuff has flown in since his birth to suddenly make it more blue. People in our parenting group said that with their girls, that really did happen, that they registered for gender neutral things, but after the birth, it was just explosions of pink in their living room, not of their own doing.
Yeah. I was thinking about the baby book, which I fill in monthly, but early in that book, it has information about parents, and it's clearly like mother's genetic history, family tree, father's family tree. So that's kind of the last time it's crossed my mind.
Do you have any like gay family books, like children's books?
We do. Yeah.
What's your favorite one? What's his favorite one?
He doesn't know or care. I mean, we've been reading.
I know, but I was trying to like pretend like babies have thoughts or something. I don't know.
Well, we can come back to that because there are certainly things he likes and doesn't like. But he has not gotten to the point of really appreciating pictures in picture books. So we've been reading to him for the last month or so from the Chronicles of Narnia. One of us just holds him while he squirms, and the other does the reading, and we don't even try to show him the pages because it's hearing the words and seeing mouths move that matters most. So Brandon's philosophy that I like was, if he's not going to pay attention, we may as well read something we like. Partly because kids' books are super short, too. Yeah, so it's like, we've just read 40 books in 20 minutes.
Yeah. If you want Kyle to come over and just read Britney Spears lyrics, I'm sure he would.
I mean, but I think we'd have to go really slow and analyze them because of their complex nature. I'm going to write a critical analysis of Britney Spears lyrics. You've just solidified that in my mind.
Great.
I nominate Circus as one of the first ones to
Good call.
Brandon was going to say, what we've read to him.
Oh yeah. So yeah, we started the Curious George books. I think there's 7 books. And then Winnie the Pooh, went through all of Winnie the Pooh, which I never read as a child. So that was all new to me. And then you've read Narnia in childhood a few times, but I never read it. I think I read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So what's the Tango book? I think that's...
And Tango Makes 3, which is about gay penguins.
Oh, yeah. We've talked about them before, right? That's actual penguins in real life that it's based on.
Yep. There's one called Daddy, Papa, and Me that is really cute. The illustrations make some very serious, and the story makes some very serious assumptions about what queer families do look like.
In what way?
Yeah, like a
beardy guy in plaid, but like fashionable otter kind of guy. And they go to the farmer's market every week and buy kale. So, yeah.
This all tracks to me.
You just described Tom and Keegan from our open relationships episode.
So that's... I'm glad that the representation is there. I think the representation is also a little problematic. Yeah. But we also have something that's called like Mama, Mommy, and Me. That's the same thing. Our surrogate gave us a custom book from a company that does you fill in the blank, and it builds stories around names and pronouns. It has beautiful artwork.
There's a baby. We can now see the baby.
Hi, baby.
Hi, baby.
How's it going?
Can he see things? Oh, he's smiling. Does he see us?
Oh, yeah.
Hi, baby. See, Mike, this is what I was talking about. I just move around and make noises, and I think, I don't know, I think that's what baby's like.
It is. I do.
That's fantastic.
That's all I got.
And a cute outfit. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. Show that off. Yeah. A dinosaur.
All right, so now is our interview with your child. So, baby, what is your plan for the rest of the day? Horrible interviewer. How do you feel about having 2 gay dads?
Big smile. That's good.
Yeah, all right. He seems okay with it.
Yeah.
He's going to chill with us, and he'll probably just sit here quietly. He's a very content baby.
He's a very content baby. We've been very lucky. When he was tiny, he only really cried if he was hungry or needed changing or was very, very tired.
And sleeping through the night now? Has that mostly gotten stable?
He's had, I learned a new phrase, which is sleep regression, which means the baby was sleeping fine, but is no longer sleeping fine.
Okay.
So this last week, it's mostly teeth related, but he's been up in the night, and we try to get him settled and back into bed, but he's been lying with us for the last few hours of the night, being consoled. So.
And he's not verbal, but I told y'all this at New Year's, like, it's interesting to not just see the world through a baby's eyes with him, but to realize, like, you have to learn how to be a human. So The only inconsolable screaming was from about 3 weeks to 8 or 9 weeks old in the evenings when he had gas because he didn't know how to fart. That's something you have to learn how to do. And for babies develop a rhythm for their gas before they do for their sleep and awakening. So it's, if you Google evening fussies, it's a well-known thing that about 6 or 7, most babies from 2 weeks to 9 weeks are just uncomfortable and unhappy because that's when they're dealing with their gas.
That's so weird. I would never have thought about that.
I didn't either until I figured out what to do to stop the screaming because it was the worst of the screaming.
That's about the time I start drinking every day, so that checks out.
You stop screaming because you're off work. What's the best thing about being a dad?
I think there's probably more than one thing, but I would say the very sweet nuzzling cuddles that he'll give us unexpectedly, where he'll just turn into you and bury his face into your shoulder. I think that's one of the times that I feel the most love from him.
Yeah. I remember when he was about 8 weeks old, similar. I mean, he had almost no body control because he was 8 weeks old. But he and I were at my office, and the first time he gave me a look that was different, that conveyed whatever an 8-week-old knows of affection.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't just recognition, it was also, I like you too.
Mm-hmm.
And that has continued when he does just, we're holding him walking and he just nuzzles in. And it's like, oh.
Mm-hmm. Well, how about the opposite of that question? What's been the hardest thing or the worst thing about being a dad so far?
I think it's always difficult when a baby is crying and you cannot figure out what the problem is. And so you're going through the routine of checking the diaper and trying to give a bottle and burping and nuzzling and baby just keeps crying. I think it's normal to feel frustrated and upset by that. But when it's at like 2 o'clock in the morning and you just want to go back to sleep, I think it takes on a whole new level of frustration. But that's probably, those moments have been the most difficult for me, I think.
Yeah. Those moments have happened in the last 2 weeks and were relatively rare, except for very early on when he was really small. I mean, there was one night Brandon was still on paternity leave and I was up with Topher for like 2 or 3 hours in the middle of the night and woke Brandon up. It's like, I'm done for now. I need some help. And then probably later that same week, Topher and I were home so after Brandon went back to work, and it had a similar night, and I just had to put him in the crib and let him cry while I took a deep sigh and lay on our bed for 45 seconds of just not having to take care of someone else.
Yeah.
So I think one of the difficult parts too is just always being on, and that's part of parenthood, but that everything you do, you're taking care of someone else as well. So you have to really know what's going on for yourself.
Yeah.
Man, that's...
all parents are in the situation where the pandemic has thrown everything for a loop. So whereas we were building routines of having a night out or having my brother come over or having a babysitter occasionally, like all of those options for relief were suddenly gone. And then we had to build kind of new routines, which we did. And I think it helped us to kind of more fully establish his evening routine of having dinner together and reading the book together and having bath time and having some time where we rock him and give him a bottle and put him down. So I think we developed new routines, but to suddenly have anything that we had available to us as far as like offering some relief, I think that was difficult too. Okay. I need your diaper changed.
Yeah. Me too. I'll be right back. So you were talking earlier about personality and personality starting to develop. I'm curious, what kind of a kid do you think he's going to be when he's 5 or 10?
I am not looking forward to joke books from the book fair. I think that kind of humor is going to be a part of him and his development based on how much he laughs now and finds things to laugh at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just like thinking of him as a 5-year-old. I'm sure he'll be bookish. He'll probably be on the soccer team because of Papa's influence.
Get him a whistle. Let's let him referee.
Probably a little young at that age to be the ref.
Start him early, though. Soccer players are hot, and he needs to get his bay someday.
Wow.
Just saying.
But he'll be very easygoing. He'll be a good older sibling to younger sibling.
Well, there's some breaking news. Are you thinking about having another child?
Not immediately. We have a timeline for when we'd like to, and we are working through conversations with our surrogacy agency and our fertility clinic about some of the pieces to that timeline, and mostly we're doing the heaviest lifting, which is saving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It sounds like the plan would be to go through the same route that you went this time with surrogacy and everything. Cool.
Yep.
One thing I hear commonly is the same egg donor, so that they are biologically half siblings. Is that?
Oh yeah, we did that at the beginning years ago.
Oh, that's right, because they're separate processes of the right.
Before we go to the break, I wanted to ask you guys to totally take it out of your fatherhood into a different context. What are your relationships like with your fathers, and what are you planning on doing for them for Father's Day?
You should go first.
Okay.
My father and my mother both live in Central Washington. We saw them last weekend for my mother's 60th birthday. We threw a party at our place and they came over. And we hosted a Zoom call for probably about 60 people. So we won't see them next weekend. We'll see them perhaps, I think, the following weekend as we leave on a vacation trip to Yellowstone. So it'll be Topher's first travel vacation trip.
Watch out for the volcano.
Yeah, we'll be careful.
All right.
So I have a good relationship with my father. It's healthy. We're good at communicating with one another. We have similar personalities, I think.
Yeah. I might send mine a text.
Yeah.
A card if I think about it during the week. I might text his wife and see if they want to FaceTime with Topher, which has not happened yet. I mean, my relationship with my dad is just, I think, general ambivalence right now. He had a heart attack a few years ago, and it freaked me out. And if he were to die suddenly, I would get to Alabama as quickly as I could. But we have never really been alike, and have not done the work to rebuild a deep relationship. I mean, since my parents divorced when I was in the 7th grade. I mean,
yeah.
Does this have anything to do with coming out or being gay, or is it completely unrelated?
Completely unrelated. No, I think that he has never said anything negative about my being queer. One of his ex-wives was actually not obnoxiously, but shockingly supportive and insisted that photos of me and Brandon be displayed right alongside my one brother and his wife and the other brother and his girlfriend, like that it was all the same at their house. So
that's good. I think part of the reason that I want to talk about this, I guess, is that I feel sometimes like Mother's Day and Father's Day, and even to a certain extent Valentine's Day, can put people in a rough spot emotionally because they might not be in a relationship. They might not have a good relationship with their father or their mother. And like, that's okay. Don't feel like it's okay if that's a rough day for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, it's not a rough day for me. It's for both of those days. I just forget they happen. Because they're not dates in the liturgical calendar. Like, the only calendar I look at that's a grid is at lectionarypage.org, which tells me what the readings for each Sunday are. And they never note when Mother's Day or Father's Day is. So I'm just like, oh, I guess Father's Day is the 3rd Sunday in June. I don't know when Mother's Day is.
I never remember Mother's Day either, but Mom always lets me know well in advance. So you have anything else, Kyle?
I think you guys mentioned, maybe on the last one, but what are your dad names? I think I heard Papa for Joseph.
Yeah, I'm Papa.
And Brandon is?
I'm currently Dada, but eventually Dad.
Going to morph into Dad?
Yeah.
Is Papa going to morph into Pops?
I don't know yet.
That's what I started sarcastically calling my dad, and then it just turned into just what I call him, like how I, say the word totes.
Yeah, it just happened.
It just kind of became an actual thing. It stopped being ironic.
Any last parting thoughts on Father's Day, being gay dads?
I would say that it has been mostly what I have expected. It's been a good experience. We are very blessed. He's a very good baby. We're very happy with him every day. Mm-hmm. Certainly we have moments when it's challenging, and I think that's true for any parent-child relationship, but it's been a healthy thing for us and a good part of our development as a family, and I'm looking forward to the milestones in the months and years to come.
Mm-hmm. We can't hover in serious, heartfelt topics for too long, so I think, Mike, you should get us out of it.
Yeah, sure. Well, Joseph knows what to say.
Let's take a break.
Let's take a break. Yes, exactly. Break.
This is the part where Mike and Kyle take a break.
I'm Trina Winter.
And I'm Thomas LeBlanc.
Welcome to Chosen Family. Every second week, we talk about art, sexuality, and identity with a special guest. Usually queer, but not always.
I completely struggled coming out to my parents as a comedian. Being in the entertainment industry for Middle Eastern people is unheard of.
Affecting change requires people to shake it up.
Listen to Chosen Family wherever you get your podcasts.
What sign are you, by the way?
I'm an Aries.
Of course. I love it.
Joseph?
Are we back?
We're back.
Oh, we're back.
Yay.
Even that took me by surprise. We're going to do our Gayest and Straightest.
We're going to do our Gayest and Straightest, but first, our website is gayishpodcast.com.
All of our social media, like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, is at Gayish Podcast.
Our hotline, you can send us text messages or leave us voicemails.
At 585-542-9474. That's 585-GAYISH. Standard rates apply.
Standard rates apply, that's right.
Wow. And then our email is gayishpodcast@gmail.com.
And our physical address is P.O. Box 19882, Seattle, Washington, 98109.
A couple things before we do our Gayest and Straightest. We did an interview for a site. It's actually the same interview that appears on two sites that they both own. There's Queer 40 and what I think is my new favorite site, bearworldmag.com. So there's an interview with us in either of those if you want to check it out.
Spell bear.
Yeah.
The good kind.
Oh, man.
Oh, wait, that could still be either. BEAR. That's it should be the Bear World magazine.
Sure.
Sure.
Great. Well done.
Like, are you going to say the next thing or?
Fine, sure. Should we?
Okay.
Should we do our Gayest and Straightest? Is that what's next?
No, aren't you going to say the live stream?
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay, great. So we have been trying to do a live stream the last Saturday of every month. We skipped May in deference to the Black Lives Matter protests that were going on around the country, but we are picking that back up for June. If you'd like to join us, we will be streaming live from our Facebook page on Saturday the 27th at 6 p.m. Pacific.
Topher will be there. Gayest and Straightest?
Sure, let's do our Gayest and Straightest. I'll go first. Why not? So...
Okay.
The straightest thing about me this week, I went to the Silent March on Friday afternoon. We had 60,000 people. It was great. But the straightest thing was trying to find a place to pee and then deciding just, fuck it, I'm going to pee on this bush. Like, that just seems super straight guy to just, like, whip it out and pee in random places.
Yep.
And then the gayest thing about me this week has been watching every single frame of the Rain on Me video to figure out if Ariana Grande can dance or not. The answer is no. No, she cannot.
I mean, sometimes when your voice is that good, you can be medium at dancing.
Just pay really close attention. They like there's a couple of like really tight in shots that you could tell are just to hide what her weird body is doing, because like it's not dancing. And like anyway, I'm being a bitch.
Which fits in with the gayest thing about you. Okay, my straightest is I said this in the last episode and realized I was like, I can't deal with if anyone like writes in or says nice things to me. So like the fact that I'm being emotionally distant and closed off is the straightest thing. And the gayest thing is the crazy girl that gets unleashed when people actually follow that. When people listen to me and do what I ask, then I'm like, wait, do you all love me? So I have these conflicting things inside me that I don't know how to deal with.
There was a person on the Facebook group today that said, "Do not fucking change your nose, Kyle." Because you were talking about plastics.
And I was like, you didn't. And I was like, you didn't listen to me, not ask for feedback. But I got some validation. I don't know. Okay, Joseph and Brandon.
I think the straightest thing I have done this week was to set up a fan to dry out some plaster that had gotten wet from our neighbor upstairs running a shower. So I felt kind of butch about that. And then did some clothing shopping. That's my gayest thing. Clothing shopping for Topher, and picked out a lot of cute clothes for him from Target.
What's the cutest thing you picked out?
I like what he's wearing today, which is a dinosaur on a green stripe.
Yeah, I went to do something and Brandon was coming back with more clothes for the baby. So
it's adorable.
So my gayest this week has been continuing to cultivate crossbreed flowers in Animal Crossing so that I can finish. It gets better. So I can finish my Progress Pride flag. It's the one with the trans flag and the arrow. All made out of flowers on my island.
Wow.
I mean, I'm down with trans people, but that's work. It sounds like a lot of work.
Especially waiting for blue roses to breed.
I know.
And my straightest is there's one more yet to do, but I've been replacing outlets throughout our condo with outlets with 2 USB ports in them.
Oh, wow.
So that we can plug in wherever we are, or other people can as well, and still have access to a plug and not be looking for a little charging block that goes missing.
So modern.
Yeah. Well, and like that's some next level electrician shit. Like don't you need a license to do that or something?
No. You can watch a video on YouTube.
Okay, great.
My overhead light in my entryway has been broken. This is not a joke. What are you up to?
I don't know how to do that.
Damn it, Joseph.
Yeah.
Dan does. Okay, we'll talk off pod.
Oh, barf.
I know.
So that's it. A special thank you to Joseph, Brandon, and Topher Peters-Mathews for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you all for joining.
Yes, thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Good. I agree. Watching y'all make faces is fun. And thanks to Ariana Grande.
Sure, for doing what she can with what she has.
That's right. That's it. This has been Gayish. I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz. Until next week, be butch, be fabulous, be you.
See you next week.
Bye, baby.
Bye, baby.
Does Topher want to participate in the Gayest and Straightest?
Topher's too young to know much about sexuality, so he can't even define sexuality into a binary of gay and straight.
Okay.
Ooh.
All right.
Ooh.
Well.
Woke baby.
Woke baby.